I'm Tim Herrera with the Sacramento County Office of Education, here with another Teacher of the Year profile. We're speaking with Tiffany Ballard, who is one of 2 Teachers of the Year from the Sacramento City Unified School District. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, congratulations on being named a Teacher of the Year.
Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful honor.
So tell us where you teach and what you teach.
I teach at San Brandon Middle School in Sacramento, and I teach the student leadership classes and 8th grade language arts and 8th grade U.S. history.
Tell us about what encompasses a leadership program. What do you do?
Well, there's 2 different classes, and the 8th graders are in charge of leadership programs at the school site. So they run the dances, the rallies, the spirit weeks, the fundraisers, all that kind of stuff, you know, the crazy hair day, and they run student government and host student government meetings. And the 7th graders, I work more of leadership in the community, so it's more of a service learning, and we raise fish in the classroom, and we take field trips to clean up the rivers, Great American River Cleanup. We will host and run the food donation drive and host an empty bowl dinner to raise money for local charities and things like that. So
how important is it to teach leadership? Because that's not really something it's not something you're born with, I guess, knowing how to do it.
That's true. I think some are, but most are not, and it is something that can be taught. And I think it's really important in the leadership class that I teach. It's really important for me that they understand how to realize their goals. They have all these ideas on what they want to do to make the world a better place, and they need help on how to get there. And so I teach them how to plan a project and implement a project and evaluate a project and determine which project to actually do. So they brainstorm and evaluate. And all those skills are transferable for them in all contexts of their lives. So those leadership qualities will go with them and go into any avenue they decide to take in life. And I think it's really important.
And what about, you talked about service learning. To me, that seems like an even more important skill.
Well, certainly, and you know, service learning is what, in my way, is how I connect learning to their communities and to their lives and make learning relevant. At the same time, it helps improve their communities. So they are able to do something that touches them emotionally, and they make that connection that's relevant. And at the same time, service learning incorporates the academic standards. So they might have to write a professional business letter, which taps into the language arts standards, or do some research on the organization. And all of those skills combined together really help students take learning personally and makes memorable moments for them, so that they will, I think, continue that passion. And my hope is that they will, as they go into high school, into college, and in their lives, and continue to find ways to make a difference in their communities.
Explain how meaningful that is for students who get involved in community service, maybe for the first time, and they see that spark of how they can make a difference.
Well, it can be really tragic and fun at the same time. I mean, I introduce them to the Great American Garbage Patch in the middle of the ocean, and they're shocked and learn what a nurdle is, which is a tiny little ball of plastic. And then they become overwhelmed with sadness, and that they also contribute to this. And then I watch them become empowered with ways to change it, and I help them find those paths, and I think that's really important.
How valuable are those skills that they learn from leadership and community service?
I think they're invaluable. Again, I think that they're skills they'll take not just into their professional lives and their communities, but I think in their personal lives, what matters to them, and finding that passion, living a life that is true and authentic, and that is meaningful. I think that's an important goal for all of us to have, and most of us do. And if you can give kids skills to get there, I think that's a pretty lucky job to have.
Now, how long have you been teaching?
Oh, well, I've been teaching for about 12 years. So I started teaching at Sacramento State as a graduate student, and I just fell in love and wanted to be in the public education and teaching kids, and so I really enjoyed it.
Now, have you always wanted to be a teacher? Was that something since you were a child?
It was definitely a piece. I always wanted to influence others, and so I would say that as I went through university, it became, and I had different instructors, and as a young child, I always remembered the teachers that really made those connections for me. And when I realized the power of education and how much it can influence not just the person, but the community and the greater society, I really felt like it was what I needed to be doing, and it was a life that I could feel good about doing. You know, as a profession I could feel good about spending my time and investing my heart and soul in. And
were there some teachers from your past that you still kind of think about today when you're in the classroom?
I do. I think about teachers who gave up endless weekends taking me places, you know, taking me to Angel Island or taking me to Point Reyes or to the Candlestick Park or, you know, fun things like that. And I think about teachers who introduced me to literature and George Orwell and that really sparking that passion for that kind of critical thinking. And I think I had a teacher, Mr. Cassidy, who was always made learning fun. You know, he always was trying to have us find fun, and we all ran in a community race, and we all read the book How to Eat Fried Worms, and he challenged us with making and eating fried worms, which and he'd pay us $1 each, $1. And I did. I went home and I thought, what am I gonna do? And I made worm chocolate chip cookies. And you know, the worms just looked like melted chocolate. They were quite deceptive, really.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, yeah. But it was anyways, it was that kind of, that he made me love learning, you know, and he taught me about Greek mythology, and he taught me about, you know, spelling rules, and he absolutely spoke to me as a math student, right? He's a person who let me test out of all my math books and got me into algebra because he was making sure he was meeting me where I was at. And I think that I often think of him.
Mm-hmm. So what do you say to those people who are thinking about teaching as a profession?
Well, I think that it's a noble calling, and you can really make a difference in people's lives. It's challenging. You have got to be tough, and you've got to work hard, and you need to be flexible, but there's no other job that I think you can make a bigger difference in a person's life than in teaching and education.
What are some of the challenges that you face now in the classroom? I mean, you've been teaching for, you know, for what you said, 12 years, mm-hmm. and things change over those years. What are some of the things that you've seen as challenges for you as a teacher?
For me, it's trying to fit it all in, deciding what I'm going to prioritize and what I'm not going to prioritize. So sometimes those change, right? Depending upon who's in charge. Something else might become more important, and I might have to sacrifice a project or a unit or an activity that I really loved. So I think that's a challenge. You know, making those choices and what to prioritize and what not, and having to sacrifice sometimes things you really don't want to, mm-hmm. can be difficult.
So what do you do to motivate students?
I listen to them. I'm nosy. I open up my room, and they're there in the morning and during lunch and after school, and I listen and I think what matters to them, and I see how I can connect it into the curriculum. And so if it's a new novel that just came out that I think they'd really like, I persuasively ask if we can get a novel set and teach them that novel and teach them the standards through that novel. I bring technology in. I'm fortunate to have quite a bit of technology at my school site now, and that is the quintessential motivator for them right now. You know, put a MacBook in front of them and they're going to go to town. I mean, mm-hmm. they will absolutely exceed anything you could ever imagine. But I think I respect them. I'm fun. I listen to them. I really try hard, and I think they see me trying hard, and they see that respect I have for them, and that motivates them. It's hard not to do something for somebody who cares so much and wants it so bad. So.
What about that student who needs a little bit of extra motivation? I mean, you do quite a bit, but do you ever get frustrated at the point of thinking, okay, what's left? What else can I do?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm sad for me and the student, right? I want them to feel good and comfortable and be successful in my class, so I usually let that motivation really push me. And so I try to see them in different contexts. So like this last year, I had some students who I didn't see as performing as high as I thought they could have, and I wasn't sure though, was I pushing them too hard? And but then I saw them perform in the drum line, and I said, oh yeah, no, they can absolutely do what I'm asking of them. And I think me watching them perform, talking to them about their performance, how much I loved it, helped make that personal connection with them. So that I was more effective at persuading them to maybe go home and really please read that chapter tonight, you know, and think about it and answer the questions, you know, just like you would go home and practice your drum line, you know. And I think that's one of the ways I try to reach that unreachable kid.
Well, finally, how exciting is it to be named a Teacher of the Year?
It's really exciting. It feels really validating. It feels so rewarding. Like I found my voice, and I'm motivated and inspired to continue and to push myself to see how far I can push my students and see how far they'll push me.
Okay, well, congratulations to you. We appreciate your time. We've been speaking with Tiffany Ballard, who is one of 2 Teachers of the Year for the Sacramento City Unified School District. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.